Welcome to another exciting episode of The Trading Bell. Today on the program, we have an exclusive interview with the Cabinet Secretary in charge of the National Treasury. This is Ambassador Ukur Yatani, the man that is in charge of Kenya's purse. This will be his first budget as the Minister for Finance and the 8th budget under the Jubilee administration by President Uhuru Kenyatta. We want to take stock of where we are as a country and what is the road ahead for the nation. Thank you, sir, for making time for us on KTN News.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the National Treasury.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
It's a tough time to be in government, especially the docket that you lead, the Ministry of Treasury and Planning. The country is still feeling the effects of the partial lockdown that was necessitated by the government, trying to ensure that there are containment measures towards making it clear that the disease does not continue spreading. By all this, it's a question of flattening the curve. From where you sit, when you look at the numbers, how hard have the measures hit the economy so far?
Yeah, thank you very much. And as you said, everything happened for a reason. And we are here, and in one of the core responsibility as a patriotic Kenyan, wherever we are, we have to do our best. We have to give the best. And we have to put the interest of the Kenyan population at the core of our day-to-day operation.
Yes.
I just wanted to take you through the journey for the period I've been here, generally in Treasury or generally, with our teams.
Yes.
We realized even before the onset of COVID that we had to tweak and do our business differently. As a country, the solution to our economy will be dependent on us making sure that we grow our own revenue, manage public expenditure, and borrow only when it's absolutely unavoidable. Because that means now and also in the future, we'll have secured the lives and the livelihood and the dignity of this country. Before the onset of COVID, we had made a projections to start on a fiscal consolidation exercise to reduce the size of our budget deficit over a period of time.
Sure.
We were giving ourselves up to 2024 that we'll have reduced our budget deficit to below 3% of GDP. From about 8% to below 3%.
Yes.
What that means, then we'll have a lot of discretion to borrow concessionally and manage, our operations. We also need to realize that some of the public good that the Jubilee administration has put in place, they are very positive, but the returns takes time. Like the SGR and the major roads, the returns on those investments is not one-day affair. They will take time. But now when we start weighing against the benefits, there cannot be a common man will take time to realize that, the movements now from Mombasa to Nairobi has been shortened by, almost 50%
Yes.
of the time. You can now carry 10 times the size of load that you used to carry before, or even more. So in the long term, these benefits are going to pay, and we are going to realize faster development, faster connectivity, and make the cost of doing business much cheaper. We also realized that in government, there are quite a number of expenditures that can be avoided, or use substantially less amount of resources to do the same task.
Yes.
And we looked at the areas of travels. There's been a lot of wastage. The idea of now sending delegations
And trainings,
delegations, to a greater extent, has been a venue to enrich, or to give, to steal, for lack of better words, from the public coffers. It's not that these trainings are not necessary; they are necessary, but they can be managed locally. We also realized is that in the past, there's been a lot of indiscipline in the way we manage our pending bills.
Yes. That's a very hot subject. Yes.
government, the MDAs, the ministries spend, procure goods and services from people, but the closure of the financial year, they are not paid. And after that, then it becomes, a different scenario. Nobody wants to listen to you. Nobody wants to pay. And the person who's refusing to pay is not put to task as to why he has mismanaged public resources. So that has been our war, and to a great extent, I'm very happy that, it's a war that we have won 80%. So as we embarked on this, and the framework we presented, the estimate that we presented to the National Assembly was to reduce, to even have a less budget of less value than the previous years. As we embarked on this, then now we are confronted with the challenge of COVID. And it's never been planned. And we have not put any systems or measures in place in advance to mitigate or cushion ourselves against the shock. So we went back to the drawing board and made sure that, we are now torn between pursuing the fiscal consolidation exercise or cushioning the economy, supporting our people. So we said now, we try to manage both.
Yes.
We don't overspend, stay on course in the fiscal consolidation process, but also make sure that, we spend to support the lives and support the economy. So we looked at three critical areas. Number one, that in addition to the medical, the health support that we give to the ministry, we said we must now cushion the vulnerable segments within our ministers. That's why we allocated the Treasury directive in the first stimulus package that we allocate additional 10 billion to support the very vulnerable, mainly within the urban centers, the informal settlements. Number two, we also realized that there was need to support business. At all levels, the SMEs, our various industries, and what did you look at it? We said, number one, we have to look at the fiscal, space.
Yes.
And we say, let's give them tax concessions by reducing on the VAT from 16% to 14%. Reduce on the corporate tax from 30% to 25%. Reduce on income tax for all the employees and all the earners from 30% to 25%. But then overall, anyone within the tax bracket of 0 to 24,000 per month is given, full tax exemption.
CS, do you believe this was an effective strategy?
Why not? Now, the idea is that now you have more disposable income to your level, that now you can spend an extra shilling to sustain that industry, to sustain the farmer, but also acquire and access more products more at that level. With the first intervention, we have also now come up with a second stimulus package where we are looking at broad areas to try to manage the more productive labor force who have now either lost jobs or they are underemployed by coming out with a program of Kazi Mtani within the informal settlements in all our urban centers.
All right.
Where now they'll be working, but they'll be engaging on public undertakings, like let's say clearing of drainages, working on the common facilities, if they are, let's say, markets, if they are playing field, all this one now they're going to be a relook in terms of refurbishing them. But the idea is to occupy them and so that they can be earning some money every single day where they are going to support themselves, their families, but they will also support the local economy. So quite a number of things that we are looking at. We are also now supporting the farmers by giving them the e-voucher so that they can continue producing. Additionally, we looked at the sector of tourism, where it is one of the most affected. If you look at the hotels, if you look at airlines, if you look at all these destinations, have more or less come to a halt. What has sustained our economy is that tourism might have suffered, service sector, travel has suffered, but we have a very vibrant, agricultural sector, and to some extent also manufacturing. So all these now will give us an opportunity to be, at least to stay above board.
All right. And CS, you've captured quite a number of items in those opening remarks. I'd like us to go into some more specifics, especially a summary of the stimulus package in terms of, so far we know that the government has plugged in about 53.7 billion for the economic stimulus package. I'd like you to just break this down for wananchi to understand how will this money be spent and where are we getting the money in the first place?
Just to remind you, the first set of stimulus package is what we did about 2 months ago.
Sure.
Where we looked at enforced flow of payment of pending bills, VAT refund, the tax reductions. We cushioned the vulnerable by giving them 10 billion shilling. We supported and facilitated payment of the VAT refund. We reduced on a number of things and also made business much easier for the people. What happened at the central bank through reduction of the cash-based ratio and the cash reserve ratio. All this was to support the economy to stay afloat. Number two, we've now come up with the second round of stimulus package. And we are not looking actually at, we've now made adjustment. By yesterday, we are now looking at about 57 billion. From 53 to 57 billion. And what are we looking at? We have 8 thematic areas. Thematic area number 1 is to create employment opportunities mainly for the youth. And this is what we are calling Kazi Mutani. And through this, we've provided budget of 10 billion. They could be mainly in Nairobi, but they're going to take place in all the urban centers. And to the same extent, we've appealed also the governors, if they can replicate the same, as we now give them additional resources to manage their, county headquarters, because most of them are now urban centers. They should also now run something on the side to now feed into this program. Number 2, we looked at the health sector. We said, what do we need to do in the health sector? There are a lot of interventions that are going on, but we said we need to create stimulus by enhancing consumption from the local economy. We've allocated some resources for the purchase of hospital beds to be scattered and spread across the country. And who's going to produce the beds? Our own Juakali people. Do they meet the standard? We are going to be very strict with the standards so that those ones that meet the international standard are the ones that are going to be recommended for direct purchases. Do we need to increase the number of personnel? To that effect, we have provision for employment of 5,000 health workers, but mainly at the lower level. The community health workers, the public health technicians, to support, the local communities, to create awareness, to educate them, reason to have, better hygiene, the washing of hands, and how to clean the environment. So the third area, we looked at the education sector. What do we need to do for the education sector? We said we came up with 3 areas. Number 1, that what goes directly to the individual is going to have a direct impact on that individual, his family, and the economy. So we have now made provision to employ 10,000 teachers, new teachers for 1 year. The third area, we looked at the area of water and environment. We said we can use this opportunity to create jobs for our people, but also safeguard our own environment. Planting of trees at the local level, at the institutional level, school levels, by protecting those river basins, by making sure that we support the rural economy, particularly within the ASALs, by enabling them to get access to well-protected wells, and ponds, by making sure that there is reconstruction, but using local labor. The other area, we're also looking at the road sector, where we say we've made provision of 5 billion shilling for the road sector. And all these, they are now going to be use of machines. All of them will be now constructed using labor.
Hard labor.
Yes, hard labor. People are going to work on it. If you have now a stretch of like 10 kilometers within a specific locality, you say, okay, fine, we are going to split into about 5 contracts. but all labor. A number of people will be working between here for 3 months, and then the other ones like this. Because the net sum of all these is that these people will be earning, will be supporting their families, will have achieved rural access roads, will have facilitated the flow of produce from the farmland to the markets. So these are broadly the areas that we're looking at. And then one important one is we're looking at the sector of tourism. In addition to the international hotels, the communities have also organized themselves to come up with ecologies, community conservancies, where they're employing people, they are protecting the wildlife, but they're also attracting tourism. Now all of a sudden these people have no income. And the number of people who have been employed, now they are going to lose jobs within no time.
Yes.
So what we did, we created a grant to 160 local conservancies. We are going to give them a grant of 1 billion, but now targeted to cushioning employment, that they should not lay off those people.
Yeah.
We are actually now through the grant, and the grant is tied to the employees for 1 year. We've also asked KTB through provision of marketing. We've given them a provision of 1 billion shilling to start now relooking at the recovery process. We need for 1 year to embark on a recovery process and do it. We also looked at the flower sector. Has been one of our very strong inflow of the foreign exchange. Now our flowers now either this limited market, but now accessing those markets is actually reducing. So what we did is that we gave a provision of money, about 1.5 billion, to tie to the KQ, that we want to see how best we can subsidize the freight that you now export to the European market.
Yes.
But to some component, the government has made provision to cost share the cost of the freight.
This is KTN.